Hello, hello. I'm Fred. Welcome to Breaking Heads. And this is how I almost got to be the WARMASTER at the WTC 2023. I'll wait a little bit until we get more in the chat. And hello, Sintas. Hello, Astral Power. Welcome. This will be an English stream. Today we at Breaking Heads, we are a German-speaking content creation, tournament organizer, coaching service, and because we just had a very big international tournament. And I was also very lucky to play on stream at least twice during the event. I think I thought it would be nice to do English content here. And yeah, so more people can watch, listen, and please keep the chat in English as well, so everyone can basically keep up what's going on. This will be usually a long one because when I do this kind of game analysis streams, I like to do it in one go. I played, let's count, 8 games in the WARMASTERS tournament in Belgium. And yeah, so we will probably talk about all of them. My goal always is not to recap the games completely in detail and get every turn, every move right, but try to, in an educational way, explain to you guys what was the important thing, what was the most crucial moment, what were the moves, tactics, maybe that I used that helped me win the game, maybe my opponent used that really tricked me off, and that in the end, decided the game. This is, in a way, what I'm doing here today for you live on stream. One method I use primarily in my coaching with all the coaching clients we have, which is analyzing games and learning from them. Because that's the most important way to get better at 40k is first play games. That's the thing you always need to practice, you need to play games, especially in 40k. You need to not only be indulged in theory, but need to be indulged in practice. And then learn from them, because 40k is such a game with such a variety of situations and also somehow like causalities, like things that happen and things that happen because of different reasons. So it's good to always take a step back and look at the game and think, oh, what was actually the deciding factor? And as you know, it's never dice, never ever is a dice. I'm probably not going to talk about dice at all in this game. When I do, you're welcome to shout me out, call me out in the chat. And just want to focus on tactics, strategy, and all this is going to be very Aeldari favored heavy today. And as you can already see here, I've prepared quite a bit of material for you guys. By the way, hello Mikey, hello Marcel, welcome to the chat. So as you can see, I've prepared quite a bit of material here. We have 6 games. Can you see that? Yeah, that's fine. 8 games. I played 4 times against Aeldari. I played 1 time against Dark Angels, 1 time against Imperial Knight, and I played 1 time against Chaos Knight and 1 time against Chaos Space Marines. Especially games in the early rounds were very, like the end result is very drastic. It's like 20 O's pretty much, like the majority of the games. But that doesn't mean they're not so interesting, and it also doesn't mean that, especially in their Aeldari mirrors, it can swing so much. So like when one's getting ahead, it usually means the other one's like has a big advantage. What I try to get out of this here for you guys is probably learn the ins and outs of Aeldari. Because there are so many mirrors, that's actually like there's a lot of interesting matchups there still, because the mirror matchup is super interesting, even if you play Aeldari and have lots of favorable matchups, which you should win. And then, as I already introduced, like getting to learn like a little bit of the methods of analyzing your game and learning from your games. So I will wait a bit longer. So we have need to do some social media so we get going here. Yeah, I will repeat myself. During all of the stream, you're always welcome to ask any questions. Probably best at the end of any games, but just like for me, it's best to answer them at the end of like going through one of the games. But I also will stop quite a bit and just throw them into the chat. I will try to always look, and if I didn't see your message, usually you can just jump in again. I think the last disclaimer I want to give is this is kind of like a lecture. I know. So it takes a long time and might be like a bit hard to follow at some point. Don't stress out. I did this before and I get very positive feedback for that. So this is like just me getting all my thoughts out from these games. And if you're if you're watching the recording, which is the most likeliness, just look below. There's going to be timestamps for each of the games and maybe even more like for like certain topics I'm talking about, and just skip to them. So you get to do things that you're interested in, or so you can get I don't know, catch up, pick up where you left after you watched some of the recording. Yeah, please also remind me if the sound is bad. I'm hoping it's good, because talking here is one of the main things. Okay. Yeah, for a broad overview, you already know, 8 games played at the WARMASTERS. WARMASTERS is the single player tournament just before the WTC, so there's a huge international audience, and it might be the most diverse tournament in the world, maybe up to par with the Las Vegas Open. I don't really know. Las Vegas Open is actually quite heavily favored for North Americans, but it's getting also more and more diverse. So this makes it for a very interesting playing field. And I'm really proud that I was able to get so far. But on the other hand, I also have to say it's just before the team event, so a lot of players who are competing in a team event, especially the ones in the top nations, they don't participate in the singles event because they want to keep their energy for the team event. Which is totally understandable. It's basically like a tradition for some. There's even something like with the Australians, they say you cannot play your teams list in the singles because we don't want to give too much away. So it's like a bit in between. Like it's a really competitive tournament, and it's like it could be more competitive if just like there wasn't the team event, but it's still and that takes a bit away from the competitiveness, but it's still like super competitive, and we get like all these different people from all over the world. Yeah. Okay. That's the broad overview. Let's start with my army list. Wait. How we get this? Oh wait, I need to. This was a very smooth transition, but I ruined it. 1 second. I need to log all this. Okay. Now we go. Whoop. Here we have, and I'm in the way already. Starts off well. Okay. Here we have my army list. It's pretty simple. For an Aeldari list, and I will go through each entry for you guys, so you understand why I took it. But it will come up in the games, and we will see in the games why I took the different pieces. Let's start with the fire prisms. Fire prisms are my main, one of my main damage source, and the great thing about fire prism, next to that it has a very efficient damage output profile for a good point cost, is that it can basically shoot indirect if one of the fire prisms can see the target, and all the other fire prisms can see the fire prism that can see the target. You will see that come up in my games very, very quickly, very often. It's basically one of the main tactics I use to basically win the attrition war. So I like to have 3 of them, especially because I want to have the redundancy. If I lose one, I still have 2. They are quite fragile for vehicles, so they're only T9 and they only have a 3-up save. For the meta we are in, people can kill fire prism quite easily. Also, I want to have 3 because I want to be able to bring 1 in from reserve and then shoot with the other 2s. Or I want to have 1 to advance forward and then shoot with the other 2s. So I'm still shooting with 2. So here I'm going with the redundancy. Next piece, which is the centerpiece from the army, is obviously you can just see it behind me, is the Wraithknight. The Wraithknight has been nerfed a little bit by not being able to use too many fate dice and as points cost, but it's still, I think, the core piece of the army, because similar to the fire prism, it shoots indirect, but it shoots direct, but actually it's shooting indirect. It's shooting indirect because it's towering, obviously, and it can see through over small runes. This is basically like a huge advantage you will have in any shootout, because you will be able to see over the runes and they won't. This comes to par with the ability to move the Wraithknight again after shooting or after the opponent has moved, which basically makes it, yeah, it is an indirect shooting piece, because it shoots at things that are behind runes, behind obscurings, and itself is also hidden. And this combination alone is basically the backbone of my army, which always gives me the edge in a shooting matchup, and has high efficiency, and you cannot hide from it. Oh wait, I did some mistake already. Unlock. This one's not there. Why is it this? I copy pasted from the other list. I made the other lists first before I made my list. Okay. This pass with proper indirect shooting to D-cannons. D-cannons have a high efficiency, especially with the fate dice, being able to do damage against any target, no matter what is their defensive profile. Because of the mortal wound spillover, you can even kill small units of like 5 infantry models, or you can kill heavy tanks. It's really useful. Here I also chose to go for 2, so I can have 1 on the board and can have 1 in reserve, threatening to reserve, and also make it even harder for my opponent to hide from my units. Then next up I have the Yncarne, and the Yncarne has always been my favorite model, and I'm really happy I could use it, but it's actually also super strong in this edition because it lost all of its restrictions after it teleports. So it can charge after it's teleported, it can fire Overwatch, or even just a normal shooting after teleporting. It is super strong. And this means if you have basically these 3 kinds of indirect shooting, like semi-indirect shooting and real indirect shooting, you can put the Yncarne into places where he could never usually go, and then do another shoot and charge maneuver. Basically making him also indirect shooting, like you can hide from him. That's this. And then basically I have 4 support units, which is first the Autarch, 2 Farseer, and a Viper. The Autarch has a small double role, because his support is basically gives me 1 extra CP that allows me to always have 3 CP for doing Fire and Fate and Phantasm during each battle round. It also makes my secondary play better, because I never feel like pressured to discard a card to get an extra CP. But he's also a lone operative, so if I really need to have a lone operative on the marker, I can use him, or if I really need to screen with a lone operative, I can do that with him. Next up are the 2 Farseers. The 2 Farseers are direct support for my 2 big guys. With -1 to wound in 12 inches in the command phase, they can make them really tough. The Yncarne in the backline of the opponent can sometimes really tank half of the army with -1 to wound and with -1 to hit and with fate dice. That you can even like really play him super aggressive, and you can only, I feel like you can only do this -1 to wound. There's a extra built-in redundancy bringing 2, because first of all they're quite cheap, so if one dies I have another one. If I would try to bring some protective element like Guardians or even the Warlock Conclave, they're actually more expensive than just bringing a second one. Also, this ability is not limited to 1 Farseer, so if I fail the -1 to wound on a 1, because it goes off on a 2+, I can still try it with a second Farseer. And in my deployment, I always try to basically overlap the 12-inch bubbles from them, so that if I really want a Wraithknight, I know the Wraithknight's going to be shot next turn. I really want the -1 to hit, -1 to wound on him. I will be able to get it. Second, they give me the ability to turn any fate dice once per battle round into a 6, and this basically gives me a nice coverage of 12 inches. Like I basically have my whole board, like my table half covered with both of these in the first 2 or 3 turns, and it will really give me like the options where I need to bring the Wraithknight. I will have the ability to switch a dice into a 6, and this actually has like I feel like I never had bad dice for the fate dice in my turns, like I had before in my practice, where I roll like 3 times and never get any 6s. I usually had like 1 or 2 6s on my first or two first 2 rolls for the fate dice mechanic. But it actually, this, like having 2 Farseers really makes you like you don't rely on that anymore. The only thing what you basically really need is that you need yeah, you would like to have one additional 6 there, but what you really value as well is like having 4+ or 5+, because that's like good rolls for advanced rolls, and it's also good rolls for damage rolls, and it's also just the save roll you would have on an Yncarne all the time on a Wraithknight. But of course, more 6s is always better. Last but not least, the Viper is a very important support piece for me, because it's basically a warlock. Like if you have played Eldar in 9th edition, you know that Jinx and Reveal, 2 psychic powers we are using quite a lot to turn off the armor, like reduce the armor save, or take away the cover from opponent units. It can really swing around the shooting damage you can do. Because maybe I should say that the Viper has the rule that after it shot a unit, that unit will not have cover against any of the incoming attacks. And this is actually crucial for mirror matches, where if you shoot with AP3 or if you shoot with AP3 and it's something that doesn't have cover, no wait. You shoot with AP4. That's AP4, because the Wraithknight has AP4, the Fire Prism have AP4, and the Deacon has AP4. And if you shoot at something with cover, they still have a 6-up save, so they can still use a 6 to save to blank that. That would mean often that you will need to get an additional shot to go through. And really, in a mirror match, the shots are so few, and you want everything to connect, that this can really make the difference. Yeah, I also another nice thing is that it actually makes all the smaller shots you have quite decent, because all 3 of my fire prisms, they have shuriken cannons, and actually the Void Weavers here, they also have both have 2 shuriken cannons, which helps you yeah, just get more damage in, because otherwise they would be on a 3-up save for most of the things, and that brings them on a 4+, and actually really gives me a lot more damage. Yeah. Hi Joseph, welcome to the chat. I need to make sure that, yeah. Yeah, so before I will come to, now maybe I go to this question right now. On my right side, you can see some of my screening units, which are like the Rangers are basically only screening, and the Void Weavers have like a mixed role. But a good question from Joseph is, I have no Phoenix Gem and I have no Nightspinner. The Phoenix Gem, I don't have it because I just didn't have the points. I couldn't fit it in. If I would be able to squeeze in another 25 points, I would have taken it. Would help me in the mirror match as well. And I have to confess that I didn't prepare for the mirror match enough. And it was for me a lot of theory crafting. But I didn't want to drop any of the units that I had here. Why no Nightspinner? The reason I didn't bring a Nightspinner was that my feeling was that the Nightspinner basically is in no match valuable except for the match with the mirror match. In all the other matches with the 170 points, which the Nightspinner costs, I felt like, oh, I get 2 units of that can actually do more damage, and who can, screen, be at different places. So I skipped that. After playing this tournament, after playing the WARMASTER, I would always bring a Nightspinner for the mirror match. And the sole reason for that is that I can snipe things that I cannot see because everyone will be hiding so much. Like as I said before, the Fire Prisms and the Wraithknight are semi-indirect units, and they can get angles. But in the mirror, the angles are so scarce, and everyone's hiding so much, and everyone can react so much with Phantasm to each other, that you basically need some proper indirect fire. And if you have some proper indirect fire, you can kill Farseers, you can kill small D-cannon weapons, you can even kill like a Viper, and then with that you can teleport an Yncarne to there. I was really happy I found a solution to this problem without playing the Nightspinner in the finals. And if we would have played on, I'm really happy I showed it worked. but still it makes the matchup much easier. Yeah. I have been asked why I bring so much to the Nightspinner, maybe more on that if when we come to the later games. And we actually see that especially come out to my disadvantage in some of the mirror matches that I didn't have a Nightspinner and my opponent did. The Void Weavers here, they are basically a very versatile unit. They have an invulnerable save, which is nice. Basically, you always have your save, especially when you can blank saves. They have fly and they are quick. That's nice. They have an anti-tank weapon. That's nice. It does only do 4 damage. It's less than a Bright Lance. Yes, it's also less than like the Fire Prism thing, but it's decent damage. Especially, it's very reliable damage. So you usually know, okay, this is going to be 4 damage when it goes through. And I really like this. I don't rely on dice here. And against anything that's not a tough vehicle, but more like a Terminator or I don't know, like a Viper or something, you know that you can, like, one more shot kills it or something like that. So it's really like usually it's like super against Marines, for example. And actually I like the Shuriken cannons a lot, especially paired with the ignore cover from the Viper. So what I was trying to do here, and you might see a pattern. First, all my things, like not all of my things, but most of my things are so that you cannot hide. So I will get an angle, and I will be able to shoot you, and I will be able to get an edge in the attrition war. But I also tried here in my list to be very versatile in my damage profiles. Basically, every single one of my units can shoot at any target if it comes up. For example, the Wraithknight has 2 big anti-tank weapons. But actually, because of the devastating wound rule, also an anti-heavy infantry or even a horde unit. The Wraithknight is actually the best unit I have to clear a big 20-man unit of Necron Warriors or like a big 20 Neophyte units from the GC. So similar, the Fire Prism, they also have a blast profile, and the D-Cannon has also the devastating wound and has a blast profile. Not a blast profile, but it's blast. So if you're shooting with a D-Cannon, it's actually Neophytes. It is actually efficient. And same goes for the Void Weaver. So the obvious alternatives to the Void Weaver are the Hornet, which is also a fast flying smaller vehicle, and the Warwalker. But the Hornet has only 2 Bright Lances, and also the Warwalker has only Bright Lances. So I only have the anti-tank weapons. If I have non-anti-tank against me, I'm not shooting. I'm losing efficiency. Also, if I shoot against Terminators, for example, yes, my Bright Lances are great, but they are basically the same. They're like 100% the same output as the 2 shots from the Prism Cannon, I believe it's called. And then I have an additional 6 more shots with Strength 6, AP 1, 2 damage, and ignore cover from the Viper, which makes, the Void Weaver always the better choice. And what's the other thing? Yeah, I guess that's the main reason. Yeah. It's just like, no, the other reason is that I actually have a lot of anti-tank. If I don't know, for some reason, like the Fire Prism costs 200 points, it would be interesting to bring more anti-tank because now you actually need that. But this list doesn't need anti-tank, and we will see that in game 2 and 6. This list doesn't need anti-tank, so that's totally not what I need here. I need some stuff that can screen, I need some stuff that's doable, and I need some stuff that can actually also kill horde stuff, and that's why I chose to bring the Void Weavers. My last pick here, I mentioned them already, are the 2 units of 5 Rangers. The Rangers are usually seen with Illich Nightspear. Illich Nightspear being a character, giving them Lone Op, giving them reroll wounds, making them more efficient in many ways. But actually, I found in my practice that on the WC terrain, I don't need more. I don't need more Lone Ops than 1. I don't need. I don't need the Lone Op, and actually I'm just like putting more like eggs in one basket, if you understand what I mean. I'm like, instead of putting their 55 points on the flank behind line of sight block, which also has the opportunity to do like a Phantasm and what's it called? I don't know, like the move that the Rangers can do. The Rangers can do a move. Yeah, basically, I should say that the Rangers, they have by themselves have a D6 move after an enemy steps into 9 inches with them. And this is super helpful and actually made in my games a lot of situations tricky for my opponent. And for me, it always was just like the 55-point investment. So I really like the 2 units here. I would actually recommend them to anyone. And I really want to keep them because it gives me some opportunity to have a unit that is still like, it's really, if I really want to, it's super hard to catch. But also if I don't care, or if my opponent really wants to catch it, they can catch it, but then they only caught 25 points. Yeah, so that's the reason behind my lists. Yeah, I haven't found out yet how I would squeeze in the Nightspinner. Actually, maybe my first goal would be dropping a Fire Prism or dropping a Void Weaver and a D-Cannon, something like this. I think you could probably just say -1 D-Cannon, -1 Void Weaver, you get a Fire Nightspinner, and then you also get the Phoenix Gem. Or I was actually also debating with myself whether I want to get the, what's it called? The Farseer on bike, so I get rewards to it and make my Nightspinner more efficient when I need it, and make the also the Wraithknight more efficient when I need it. But in general, I mean, we are playing Aeldari, and I feel like this army has all the tools it needs to win the mirror and also to win almost all the other matches. And bringing in the Nightspinner will probably make it a bit more efficient in the mirror. But we will see, because I try to go now into tournaments and not worry too much about the matchups. Just like, because they're gonna be matchups that are unfavorable for you, and in the end, it's just like how you play it. And I think I showed in a final it was still possible. Okay, so now we have the armor list here. Oops, and let's start with day 1, where I was playing in round 1 against Dark Angels. And let's look at the Dark Angel list. I have to say this was a Belgium or French player, not super experienced in the matchup and in the 10th edition totally. So it's not super insightful for us, but we can already this will just help me illustrate some of the things I was talking about during the Armylist introduction. So his list, I might forget some details, but was very straightforward. Basically 2 10-man bricks of Terminators, 1 the normal Terminators and 1 with the Deathwing Knights, the Lion, 10 Desolation Marines. I think they had a Apothecary, and they had a Captain, and then there was also a Colorless Assassin. Yeah, actually Dark Angels, best Space Marines of the WTC. So let's go in and look at our deployment together. Oop. Why is this? Oh, yeah. Here we go. Here we see the deployment, and it's actually pretty typical. I will need to put myself... Oh, that should be better. Yeah, I will go to the top. So we see here, and yeah, you should be able to see that. Okay. So first things first. Thanks, Tristan, and welcome to the chat. We are talking about game 1 now. The typical deployment we can see here already is you check. How do I delete that last bit? There. You check where their offensive shooting units are, which you might have to fear. These are Desolation Marines in the corner. They have a very clear shooting angle. The shooting angle. Oh shit! I hope they shoot. Holy shit! I was practicing this with the errors because I'm using a new system today. Why are you not doing what you're supposed to do? Hold on, guys. We can do this. It's unlocked. Why am I? Ah, okay. Now I get it. Okay. We just need to zoom out a little bit, I guess. Yeah. And we want this error. Fucking hell, what is the system doing? Okay, no, I'm dropping this. Okay, we are not gonna do it like this. We're gonna do it the usual way. It's just gonna be a bit more clicking back and forth. So we have in the corner we have the offensive unit, and this can basically only shoot like this. Only has these angles, and it will be hiding from my Wraithknight. I don't know this yet when I deploy. I think he deployed last things. But what I want to do is you want to respect these angles, because yes, we are tanks. Yes, we have an invul save. Yes, we can blank. We can use fate dice. But basically, we are a fast shooting army, so we can hide in the first turn. So let's just hide everything. This is hiding. The fire prisms are hiding. They're spread around everything very well. So they're basically all over at the table. And here we see something very important that you can always use in your games. The Wraithknight is positioned 7 inches forward from a safe position. You would, if the game starts, if your opponent starts the game, if they would have a very good shooting angle at your Wraithknight, which would actually be possible here, because they could, with Desolation Marines, just advance forward, use the either the strat or use the I don't know, just the normal doctrines, get advance and shoot, put O's on the Wraithknight, and then shoot along this angle. We will not respect that. We will not, for the Wraithknight, say, oh, I need to be hiding, but we will say, oh, I will take the 7 inches forward position because I will be 7 inches backwards if my opponent goes out. Especially, your opponent can actually not do that, because if he's going to run out, he's going to be out in the open and you're going to be hiding. So you can easily deploy your Wraithknight out in the open, just 7 inches in safe spot. Don't take 7. 8 inches is not enough. It needs to be 7. Yeah. So I think that's actually for now all we need to see here in this game. So let's maybe move out. We have here, we have here his deployment from the other angle. So he's hiding one of his big units. I think that was this was like the command squad unit in the back. He also respected all my shooting as he should. Make sure that this angle is not happening. Put his, what's it called, this big Primarch here in the open, but in 3 inches. And he clarified with me, can I shoot him? I explained him all my rules, and then we made sure that he's not shootable, as we always should do in a competitive environment. Talk with your opponent and articulate our intent, and then play by the intent. One very important thing, because you might have forgot, if you haven't played Eldar bunch yet, you might already forgot what I said about the fire prisms, because it's already like 10 or 15 minutes back. Very important thing we can learn here just looking at the fire prisms. So let's get a bit closer. So we have a fire prism here. No, I should get some nice things here. Fire prism number 1, fire prism number 2, and we actually have a fire prism number 3 up here. As I said, very quickly during the army list discussion to you guys, any fire prism can shoot through another fire prism if it can see that fire prism. What does that mean? That means that concretely you can draw line of sight and ranges from the base of the fire prism, because you draw a line of sight from you can draw a line of sight from the hull of any of the fire prism, and you can draw ranges from the base from the fire prism, which you can see. And that's important because it's only visibility that's important, not range. You can basically do it over the whole table. My fire prisms are basically back here, quite separated, spread around. So they would always be able to get some angles around. Usually the easiest angle, of course, here would be this one, going back and forth. So if this one in the front would see something, I could shoot from there. If this one in the middle would see something, and right now it's not touching the ruin, so it cannot be seen. But if I just put it like just a millimeter forward, it would touch the ruin. It would have this angle, and then these other ones would also see just at least one part of it, and then can also see through that. So that's the semi-indirect I'm talking about. But it gets more and more indirect the more and more we try to use that ability from the Fire Prism. Let's see what we can do. We can obviously not only get, let's stick with the one in the middle. We can not only get this angle, but if we move the Fire Prism forward, for example here, this would be, I don't know, maybe 10 inches or something. If we move it forward, we also get this angle. And then if we are still touching at least this ruin, we could also see the Fire Prism from here. And we could maybe see the Fire Prism from here or here. So again, instead of only getting this angle here for 3 Fire Prisms, we also now are also getting this angle for all 3 Fire Prisms. I mean, that's also, like, you can see, it's nice to have 3 Fire Prisms. And now we can do this even further. This was maybe only 10 inches. And let's move it further. Let's move it 14 inches. Can't not see much. Oh, let's advance it, maybe with a fate dice, for full, like this might be 14 inches. Let's move it further, maybe 20 inches, advance. The hull of this thing would probably still be like somewhere here. And then we would go out and make sure that we touch with this thing here, and then we can see it, and we go back with this one, and we could see through this angle. You also want to, while deploying, like try to look a little bit for these angles around the corners over the board. And suddenly this one, the one that advanced, cannot shoot, but these two that didn't advance, but can see the one that advanced, can shoot at a target. And if this here is 12 inches or less, I would be able to shoot in my first turn the Primarch, which is a lone operative here. We talked about it, and my opponent put it back. It's very important that you talk about it, especially if you play against Aeldari, but also when you play Aeldari, you should always be open to your opponent about this. And this gives us enormous capabilities. Yes, like in this matchup, I really like, again, like I have 3 Fire Prisms, because if you do this maneuver for only 1 Fire Prism, you only get 2 shots. They might miss, they might not wound. But if you have 2 Fire Prisms, you have 4 shots. The likelihood is much higher to kill something, and you would actually be much more incentivized to do such a maneuver. Like, let's say you want to kill another Fire Prism, you would do this. You have 4 shots of Fire Prism. Even if their blank is safe, you can kill a Fire Prism if you don't roll too many 2-ups. Yeah, if you don't want too many 2-ups, you can still kill it. 2 or 1-ups. Yeah, and the good part, and that's also an essential part I figured out doing playtesting. The good part is, in the first turn, we get an extra CP because we have this small little lone op here, which is called the Ray Leaper, Attack Ray Leaper. Gives us 2 CP in the first turn. That means if we do this maneuver, at the end of our shooting phase, we can also move backwards 14 inches with the Fire Prism that just basically did the dive. So we can either move forward back here, or we could even go completely back to our safe position at the start of the game. And because of these maneuvers, you will always be able to, most of the time, will be able to get angles. I think I remember, if I can remember correctly, my opponent started in this game. And we will see now what's happening. If you have any questions for Fire Prism maneuvers, please let me know. Beware, ranges are to bases, and line of sights are always to any part of the model. Okay. Yeah, now all my diagram is gone, but this will be fine. Turn 1. Is this turn 1? No. Where's turn 1? Okay, my documentation is bad. Sorry, guys. I already missed this. Okay, turn 1 happened. Turn 1 happened, and my opponent ran forward. My opponent ran forward. Burp. Burp. And he shot with his Desolation Marines and some D-Cannon, because the D-Cannon is very dangerous for him. And I put the D-Cannon there for, in the case if I start the game, I would be able to shoot the Desolation Marines. It was kind of like a gamble. I should probably put it in reserve, so I have the opportunity to bring 2 and then threaten them. But I wanted to be able to get a nice edge. And also, by him forcing to shoot this D-Cannon, I made my Farseers, which were, I don't know where they were. I don't know, one is here. I think one was here. made them safe, so he would get some targets. It's also something very important you should always consider, especially with Aeldari, and I think especially while the edition is going to move forward and our big stuff is going to get nerfed. If there's indirect on the table, usually it's not a good idea to reserve like part of your stuff that is vulnerable. Because if you have any vulnerable stuff to interact, the opponent will shoot it. It's usually better with Aeldari to put all your vulnerable stuff on the board, because your opponent will not be able to kill all of that in one turn. Because even though we only T3, often T3 things that opponent can kill, they will still struggle to kill all of it in an efficient way. Okay, that's turn one. That's turn one from opponent. So I'm happy my my Farseers are safe. Due to my basically my threat of the D-cannon. My opponent goes forward. And now something comes into play, which I think is quite important, and it might not look like this, because what's going to happen is basically I move forward with my stuff. What's it called? My Void Weavers move just a little bit. My I think I was putting this one here so it would have an angle. The Fire Prism here, so it would also get an angle here. All the other Fire Prisms get angles here. My Wraithknight gets an angle because it can shoot, and that's it. So basically I'm shooting with 3 Fire Prisms, 1 Wraithknight, and 2 Void Weavers. As I said, the Void Weavers are happy to put them out in some dangers because they have the invulnerable save, they're efficient to all the targets. I think I also put the Viper here in this line of sight. But what's very important here is that I can apply all my damage. I am a shooting army that needs to kill the things, so that's why I cannot make too many compromises in my list. So if you want to bring in another, I don't know, bring in a Nightspinner, for example. The Nightspinner doesn't do much damage here. If I want to bring in, what's it called? Bring in Illich Nightspear. Doesn't help me with the damage. If I bring too many Farseers, if I bring too many funky stuff like some Warp Spiders and so on, they don't do damage. All this doesn't do efficient damage here. So with all the damage that I have here, I can apply, because I maximize that in my Armylist step. I can actually reliably kill the whole brick, and that's what I did. What you want to do here, by the way, just as a very important note, you want to also always look for characters. I have this in lots of games coming up. You always look for characters and draw line of sight to them, because they're not going to be able to take these models away and then move line of sight for some of your units. That will also always be bad if like you only see like 3 Terminators and then you kill them and then he takes them away, and then suddenly 2 of your Fire Prisms cannot shoot anymore because they don't see the 4th Terminator. You want to look out for that. And at last and but not least, you always want to maximize your Wraithknight's efficiency with the blast weapons. I mean, honestly, like the blast profile shouldn't be on it, but it is, so we want to maximize that. And while you have a unit with blast, you always want to try to shoot that first, if possible, if you don't run the risk of losing too many lines of sight for other units. So I think in this situation, I shot him like after unit was still on 5 models, because I couldn't draw line of sight to his character, and then I want to make sure that I still get the blast, but I also still get like enough line of sights. So result of my turn, poof, everything here is dead except for the lion. And now we can go to my actual documentation. Turn. Here we go. Yeah, and this is because my opponent started. This is his turn 2. As you can see, already I moved up with my Wraithknight. He didn't need to go back and hide, but he actually moved forward quite a bit and was able to hide more in plain sight behind the big obscuring L which we have here. He then deep strike, and actually that was a big mistake. I think he should have waited for my turn to do a what's it called? Not a deep strike, but do rapid ingress. He deep strike his big unit here. He also, like his whole idea, I think, in this game was he wants to stat check me, overwhelm me with his Terminators, and basically the same thing happens again, but this time this unit has -1 damage because they are the Deathwing Knights, and they're actually more tanky. And I think I only reduced this unit to three or four. So I managed with my whole Aeldari shooting, I only managed to kill 6 guys. That's actually, it's like a lot, but it's also not that much if you imagine like I'm the most shooty, even maybe army list out there in the whole tournament. So this is quite doable. So I guess in this practice game, this must have been successful for him. Yeah, that happened there. And now I think we have another photo for that. We have... Yeah, we have this photo. This is perfect. Okay. In his third turn, he continues to go. He goes forward, advances his unit, managed to charge me. Actually, also managed to get some attacks onto my I think a Void Weaver, which I had used to block him here, but with the pylon or something, or with his Fighter on Death, he was managed to attack the Wraithknight, and also with the advance here, which triggered an Overwatch, which killed quite a few of guys, but still with his shooting and due to getting the exploding hits and full O's, actually almost killed my Wraithknight. So he's basically getting there, but of course he's using his whole army to get there, and just getting, getting grind down. Whatever happens here doesn't matter too much because I have so much resources left. But it's quite interesting that he would still get to that point, and due to the damage I could apply and the line of sights and the combination of the semi-indirect, I can still get to him and make sure that he has no opportunity to basically jump onto me without me being able to apply my damage. Yeah. So that's that, and the end result I think was pretty clear. Yeah, it was a 20-0. He's continued to stay on his home objective quite a bit, and he was also able to score like a 10, but nothing aside from this. I'm maxing my my primary, and I'm also almost maxing my secondary, so there's a 20-0 here. If you have any questions for this game, please put them now into the chat. And I will go forward to our next round. This will be round 2, where I played against Imperial Knights. I will wait for a second. Okay. Yeah, Imperial Knights. So the list my opponent brought, oops, not so close. It's pretty standard for what Imperial Knights have gotten to in some form of team events, and after the nerf to their damage output, they basically went more into, they want to be more durable. My opponent, I think this time was a French guy, definitely a French guy. He played double wards, which gives him the ability, especially with the enhancement, to get 3 of his armature models and also the 2 big knights on -1 damage, increasing their durability quite a bit. Also just basically bullying the board, like just being present. It was accompanied by 1 colorless assassin, just a lone wolf that can mess with my Phantasm, and also I think it was only 1 extraction squad, but it doesn't really matter. So, and here again, the amount of damage comes into play. We will look at my deployment. We will look at the deployment here. So this is deployment, and we will, can we zoom in more? Yeah, let's zoom in more. Okay. This is deployment. Can I get rid of this? No, I think we always have this little bar here. I hope you guys can forgive me that. Here we have the deployment, same as before. We put our stuff hidden. Hide your stuff. Hide your stuff. Maximize the ability, the rule from obscuring. Make sure that your units don't touch the ruins when they don't need that to do. Maybe some important highlight here. I think I tested that before the tournament, and I really advise you, if you play any army that has some, actually any army, because it usually even matters if you're very durable, because in the end you also want to use your durability in as little turns as possible, and sometimes just not be shot. But here you can see I have basically 4 units in this ruin, and it's only a tiny ruin. It's 1 D-cannon, a second D-cannon, 1 Viper, and 1 Void Weaver that barely can fit underneath this ruin. And I already, again, as I said before, talked with my opponent about the lines of sight, even took one of these models, put him on the line, moved him forward 10 inches, and then checked and confirmed with my opponent, can he see the model or not? And if you do that, your stuff doesn't get shot, and you have more stuff in later turns. Very important for Aeldari, because you are fast and you can get out of it. Very important for shooting armies, because you get to shoot first. Genau. One thing to mention, my Wraithknight is kind of exposed here, and he's even more exposed. I don't expose him and give him the opportunity to go 7 inches back, because I checked his army list. I knew, okay, he has as long range shooting 2 Wardens with damage 2 weapons with strength 6, and otherwise only Melters. And the Melters, they don't reach me. I again checked that with my opponent. I had more drops than him, so I could clarify. I said, okay, if this one moves like 12 inches here, this is less than 20, or this is less than 24. If this one moves like here, this is less than 24. I think there was one here as well, less than 24. All said and done, so I know there's not going to be any danger for me except for the small guns. I calculate how much damage there is possible and be fine with that. Yeah, because one important thing we can also learn from this game, and you will see that in a bit, is that if you are able with Aeldari, it's basically for all lists, but it's especially true for if you have a Wraithknight in your list. If you are able to kill the stuff that kills your Wraithknight in the first 2 turns, you are totally fine. You can almost move him in the middle of the board and set an objective and use his OC at 10. And the worst that it is, he will like just stay more in the back, and the opponent doesn't have any long range shooting anymore. Okay, that's that. And then I think we have for this game, yeah, this is the deployment from the other side. See, you can barely see anything. I'm using obscuring to the maximum advantage. I put forward 2 units of Rangers because I wanted to get some board presence, because we're playing a really weird mission that should never be in any tournament, which is Server Skull. And yeah, it's it would probably have been better if I think if I have put this unit back here, hiding here, because there was an angle he could get to. The other unit was hiding behind this. But I just wanted to have board present, and I didn't feel like these other positions were good. So that's that. Let's go to. Oh God, we only have turn 3. Don't we have turn? Oh yeah, we only have turn 3. Okay, I think we can tell this game best from this perspective. Is it this perspective? No, we can tell it best from this perspective. So please follow me along while I explain the first 2 turns. His knights go forward, chill a bit, and on the other side, he basically goes forward with everything. He's not able to shoot with his armigers at all. I am using my extra move with the Rangers here to not be charged in the first turn from this unit, and make it basically trying to make this unit survive, so I can use it later to throw away this objective, because we're playing Server Scuds. It's actually super specific for Server Scuds. He puts all his shooting into my Wraithknight that is possible, and that means the 2 big knights shoot, and 1 he pops +1 to wound, which is actually quite strong, because then with his top weapon he does more damage than actually I expected, and does like about 9 damage. He rolls quite high. Which is fine. Because we know these are the 2 threats, and I still have for future rounds I can use my going back and forth here with Fire and Fate, and I can also just generally go back and go away from the 24-inch range melter guns. Yeah, so he gets a nice advantage for the readmission rule, and he gets actually quite a bit of damage onto the Wraithknight. For me, the goal now is clear. I need to kill the stuff that kills my Wraithknight, and I need to be as efficient as possible. So what do? I will usually always do that if I'm like exposed, not exposed, but like confronted with such a scenario. The scenario, my opponent, like Arne would always say that, like pushes me, like goes forward, applies pressure, says I'm in the middle, I will have angles on you next turn. I will be able to get more angles you might not be able to hide. So I always check where can I still hide, which unit can I take out for the next turn without actually interacting with them. And this actually, I think, was true for this and for this armager, because they didn't get far enough and they didn't get good line of sights. And yeah, these two are the ones I will just say, okay, I'm not going to interact with these ones. I think it's this one. I think it's also this one here in the corner, the one that didn't get too far, which I'm blocking with my face right now. Let me put to the corner. Yeah, so I will completely ignore these, and I will try to kill the ones that are closest to me in the most efficient manner as possible. Most efficient manner as possible would mean, for example, getting, maybe you already guessed it, getting the Viper just barely out, drawing some line of sight here, being able to shoot you and get take a turn off your cover. That would make my what's it called, my Shuriken Cannon do some stuff. Then using my Wraithknight's ability to basically ignore the invulnerable save through devastating wounds, because in this matchup I think this is actually like the most balanced one for devastating wounds, because devastating wounds here do the only thing they, in my mind, should do, they turn off the save and the invulnerable save. And last but not least, I want to use the Yncarne actually here in my first turn, because with the Yncarne with AP4 I can go through the armor save directly, and in close combat knights don't have invulnerable saves, so I can basically kill like a whole knight. Small knight definitely, maybe even cripple a big knight, or if it's already crippled, to kill a whole big knight. So we will arrange our units just like we did in the first game. We will make sure that, for example, we get some angles with, let's make a different colors here. So get the angles we want with 1 or 2 fire prisms. So like there's an angle here, there's an angle here. I think I moved the Void Weaver. I think the Void Weaver I moved so they could see here. So as you can see, like the Void Weaver I'm putting forward, but I know that the things in the back, the ones I marked here, will not be able to see him, and also this one. So I can actually go forward with him without getting damage there. I have the not direct line of sight, but I can shoot indirectly with the D-cannons here, and then I can shoot with the Wraithknight basically everything. I think I can also shoot here, and if you are shooting army, you always make sure you have some redundancy, because your dice might go bad in a certain way. So it's good to have, for example, here 2 D-cannons and a Void Weaver. They might not kill this thing. Could always be, so the Wraithknight is also still possible to kill this thing. This is basically the most pressure right now on my lower flank, and also on the objectives in general here. Then what I do now, and I advise everyone to do when they play a Shooty army or Aeldari, and or whatever, you want to maximize by trying to trigger against the Imperial Knight the rotate Iron Shield. So basically I just shoot, I think it was a Void Weaver as one target, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna Void Weaver that, I'm gonna Iron Shield that, and then now, okay, this is the target, I'm not gonna shoot anymore with the Fire Prisms, because it's gonna give him a better invulnerable save against my shooting. So I'm now gonna focus my Wraithknight onto this target, because I know I can do 2d6 mortal wounds at least, and maybe even more, because I roll a 6 with enough dice. And then basically he doesn't have an invulnerable save against my shooting. I managed to, let's get rid of all these things here. I managed to kill This one here, which was obviously had moved forward. I managed to kill this big knight here and teleport the Yncarne there and then charge into this knight which had moved forward here. And I think I whiffed a little bit, but it doesn't matter. And I managed to bring him down to 2 wounds. He was then crippled, getting -1 to hit, which is not too big of a deal, but he's almost dead. I know that the next turn I'm going to kill him. He has to be very careful with Overwatch from then on. And sadly, he was able to kill the Yncarne because he didn't have -1 damage. And I think I misused some fate dice. You always want to like save your fate dice for later for important things, but it's like a damage 8 attack. And he had like he had like 5 attacks still. So yeah, could have been either way, but he killed the Yncarne. Because I, as I said, negated the shooting possibility for him as much as possible and maximized my output. He, in this turn, I think only shoots a Void Weaver with some stuff and another Void Weaver. I think he just shoots my both Void Weavers with the stuff that was able to go up here. Like all the other small stuff couldn't shoot. And then if you look at my next turn, because this is going to be turn 3, the board looked like this. Basically everything is cleared. And you might think about this like, oh, holy shit, Aeldari shooting is crazy. It is crazy. It is built to be crazy here in this list. But it's very important because I was not trading any blows. I was just giving blows. He basically only killed the Yncarne here. And after like my second shooting phase, I was like, I still had my full power. I shot again and got enough damage through. I think he has only 1 knight here left. Yeah, I think that's it. And one thing we can also learn as an Aeldari and a shooty army player in general. As you can see here, my Wraithknight is now pushing forward. Also, everything else is pushing forward because I know that in this turn I'm going to do a lot of damage and there's going to be no return. So on the one hand, you want to calculate what's the damage. You want to see what units you can take out by good positioning and using the line of sight. But also you want to know when the things are going to die in your shooting phase so that you can basically ignore them and disrespect them for your movement. The Wraithknight is going forward here, and while I do that, in my movement phase, he's actually going towards 1 big knight and I think 3 armigers, or even 4 armigers. And I know that in my turn, he will be fine, or he's not going to die because there's not going to be enough return. And this is especially true for teams because you want to get a lot of points for teams if you have the situation where you can kill your opponent in a quicker fashion, especially if you play a very strong shooting army in the meta. But it's also true in singles where you want to go for high points to get a good ranking. Like I was able to get first place in for most of the tournament. And but you also want to be able to do that if the game is short, if the game is close, if the opponent hides a lot, and you will be able to only bring apply this damage in mid of the game, like mid game. Because if this is like turn 4 here, I really need to go forward to get onto objective and steal the objective. If it's turn 5, it's way too late. If it's turn 3, I'm also like, oh, the optimal way would be like in turn 3, the Wraithknight's going forward and not backwards, hiding, and so on, but just going forward. Hi, Felix. Welcome to the stream. I am in the middle of my lecture on my games from the WARMASTERS. We are basically right now in game 3. 2 quite one-sided games, but I'm just trying to explain the basics, how the army works. Yeah, the end game is I didn't lose enough, didn't lose much stuff. The knights are tabled. We can see that here. Yeah, actually I think it was a bit unfortunate due to the mission. If it would be a normal mission, he would have had like a good advantage on the primary here. But because it's a really weird mission, he wasn't able to do that. So he couldn't even apply a primary mission here. In some games, or also it could be like in a different meta from in the future. It could be that your opponent basically has like this kind of curve for the primary points. So it means like he's going to have like lots of points in the beginning and he's going to have very little later, and you are basically hiding at the beginning, getting little points for primary and getting lots of primaries later. In 9th edition, this would always mean that the secondary here would mean the difference. Right now in 10th edition, it's all about killing your opponent, and you basically do this. You basically kill your opponent's unit quicker than they can, and then you basically do this, and then you have the edge. Yeah, so that's that for the game 2. Let's go to game the end of day 1 and my 3rd game. And my first Aeldari mirror, first out of 4 you see here. Like I had 4 Aeldari mirrors in the tournament, and actually it's gonna be a row. Like I have a streak against Aeldari from now on, and that's gonna be so amazing. And it's the first time I can now for you guys compare my list, which we saw here. I will just go through it again. I have the 3 Fire Prisms, 2 D-Cannons, 2 Void Weavers, Wraithknight combination with the Yncarne. Like as I said, 7 like 3 kinds of semi-indirect screening support, and the Yncarne as an indirect, also actually mission play unit. And let's now see what the other army is that I play against. I am playing, I think it was, shit, I don't know which country he was from anymore, but we had a great time. His list looked very similar, as you can see. It doesn't have the D-Cannon, but it has 2 Nightspinners, which are actually super dangerous for me. And he also has the Yncarne, and he also has the Wraithknight. So I know on the long range damage race is almost the same. I have a little bit of an edge with D-Cannons, which can come from reserve. I have a little bit of edge from D-Cannons, which I maybe can kill more reliable small things in the middle, but actually if you focus things with the Nightspinners, he can also do that. So I think, and he probably also thinks that after the tournament, basically wasted 180 points in 2 units of Shroudrunner. They did almost nothing in our game, and I'm not sure if they do it more in other games. They're sadly not very good and not very efficient for the Aeldari in the Aeldari Codex at the moment. He chose to bring in another lone operative with the Death Chester, which I think is always a good choice, but I don't feel like it's the right choice because I feel like we have enough lone operatives. Like I already have a lone operative, and as I said, you can hide a lot on WCD terrain, so you're not required to take a lone operative. Of course, it helps in the Aeldari mirror, but as we see in later rounds, I would wish that to be more like a Illich Nightspear here, because it then makes the whole unit lone operative. Okay, what's he missing? Yeah, I have the D-Cannons and I have the Void Weavers, which the Void Weavers help me pressure a bit more. And I have the -1 to wound, which should make my stuff more durable, but it doesn't matter that much because we're both so killy. So, day 2, game 3. Yeah, we had a blast. And this is the deployment. And now things start getting really interesting, and I'm basically giving you like a deep dive into the Aeldari mirror. Yeah, as one important thing here that I should mention is that his advantage is the Nightspinners, but my advantage is, and he said this very clearly, he felt like this after the game, is my footprint is lower. My footprint is smaller. I already showed you in my game 1 that the Void Weaver basically fits underneath, oh, it's here, yeah, again, see, it fits underneath a small ruin. On the left side, you can see that. And this is not true for a Nightspinner or a Fire Prism. So they're all much bigger and harder to hide. So I was able to hide pretty much my whole army behind these 2 obscuring pieces. And you might say, oh, but you have obscuring, but doesn't he have a Wraithknight? Yes, I was able to hide them only from his non-towering direct shooting, but his Wraithknight, I measured and talked with him about it. I think he would maximum stand here, and then like 7 inches would be back here. and if he goes 10 inches forward, I would still be able to not be out of range, because the 36 inch ranges is sometimes a limit for the Wraithknight shooting, and you should always be aware of that and take advantage of that. So I can hide. He actually has difficulties hiding. I will also mention something that I really liked about this situation here. You can see here I have a unit of rangers just 9 inches away from his deployment zone. By the way, I love these mats because they very clearly mark the deployment zones. And they are here after I put them there after he had placed his shroudrunners. Because while I say the shroudrunners are not good in the matchup, they are dangerous for my characters. And my characters are hiding here in the bottom. Zoom out a bit again. They are hiding here in the bottom, but if he would, I think he can scout. What can he scout? 9, maybe 12? I don't know. But he can scout some inches and then move 14. He might even get an angle here. I think he actually, I was actually positive he would get an angle here. So I don't want that. And I value my characters. So what do? I put the unit forward which I don't value. And I like to have a unit that I don't value in my army, especially if it's, I mean, it's like a stealth unit with 5 invulnerable save, can move twice in my opponent's turn, and yeah, it only costs 55 points. So I just put this unit there. I don't care what happens to him as long as my characters are alive. I know that otherwise he would be able to go here and go forward and maybe shoot me here. And yes, that would be that. And I also needed to be careful because his Nightspinners, I think they could barely not reach me here, or maybe if they would, then that would not get him close enough. He would really need to expose himself with the Nightspinner. I don't remember for sure at the moment, but I clearly remember situations like this in the later games. Yeah, that's important. Do that here. We both basically mirroring our deployment, hiding as much as possible. I have the decannon in the middle, which is useful, and we both have the Wraithknight in the same spot. Let's see what we got as material. Yes, and this was one of the favorite moves situations of the tournament for me, because as you can see here, you cannot see it because I'm all white. As you can see here, my beautiful fire prism, which was hiding here, moved all the way up here. How did it get here, and why do I put it there? First, I did a pretty simple move forward and then fire and fade for my in total 2 times 14, so 28 inch movement. And then I just stand there. I am obscured, so that means his fire prisms are not able to shoot here. The angle is not possible. And I'm also, very importantly, because I'm threatening here with I'm threatening shooting him with my Wraithknight, I'm also out of range of his Wraithknight. This Wraithknight, wait. His Wraithknight can in total go 10 forward here, and then move and then shoot 36. And I confirmed that before I moved a single model of my army with my opponent, can he reach that far? And he couldn't. So this was like the perfect spot there for hiding from him. Why is it also important? And I think it's actually best seen if we go to the next one from the other angle. Yeah, this is perfect. So here we see first, while he has no opportunity to shoot me, I, in my future rounds, in my next turn, will have the opportunity to go touch this objective, not touch it, but actually put my whole base into this objective and get an angle that wasn't there before. For example, this angle. So suddenly his hiding spot here is very crucial. He needs to move around. I can also shoot around this angle, which is actually not super important here, but I might be able to do something like shoot like this angle if he puts something in this around. And as we know, we have 3 fire prisms. So while we have 3 fire prisms, that also always means like not this fire prism is getting this angle, but 3 fire prisms are getting this angle. And now, last but not least, while I was out of range from his shooting with the Wraithknight, his Wraithknight itself was not out of range from shooting from my Fire Prism. So by getting into the spot, I took away the only hiding spot for his Wraithknight. And still not be vulnerable to him because I'm out of range. This was like the perfect maneuver. You could now maybe think, oh, but there are some units in the corner which could be dangerous for you. No, they're not dangerous. No one cares about shot runners, not with your vehicle. So I just sit there, and I think he charged me, and I didn't care. He charged me because I can shoot in, like, out of combat and so on. Excuse me, I just needed to sneeze. Yeah. What did I do then? Let me go back so I can reconstruct for you what the actual turn was. Yeah, okay. So as I already said, he had quite a few chassis, big models with fly, big vehicle units to hide. So it was a bit harder for him to hide than it was for me. Basically, 2 more units to hide. And yeah, he wasn't able to hide all of them. So I was able to get line of sight onto this unit here. And very importantly, because I moved forward with my Fire Prism here, I was able to get this angle onto his Wraithknight. I think the Wraithknight is not finally deployed here. I think that's what happened. Or maybe it was because I remember I was having angles on 2 units, and that's always what you want to do in the Aeldari mirror. You want to make sure you have, yeah, as I said, angles on 2 units. I was having angle at one or two of these units. I'm not sure if it was the Fire Prism or the Wraithknight, but I'm also having angle on this thing. So that means for me, clearly, I will be able to shoot one of these things, and it just gives me the first edge. And he chose to Fire and Fade. One of I think it's either the Nightspinner or the Wraithknight, and not the Fire Prism here, and then the Fire Prism just died. Yeah. So first thing learned, I could, like, the angles are super important, ranges are super important, and basically double checking on 2 units so you cannot get away. Then this was my turn 2, turn 1. Then let's say turn 2. Yeah. Now it gets crazy. Because we can go. I think we go from here. What happens? He basically doesn't get to do too much with his direct shooting. I have like eliminated. I took the Wraithknight out of the equation. Of course, he goes forward, but I'm out right now. I'm outside here. I'm visible, but I'm just gonna Fire and Fade Phantasm backwards. So, and then he's gonna do the same. And I'm not sure. I think he didn't even move out. He just, like, put his 2 Fire Prisms here, and then I will just not be visible. I don't want to be shot. Yeah. So both of our my Wraithknight now is safe, and all this direct shooting does nothing. But what does something is his indirect shooting and his Yncarne. And it was mentioned by Joseph in the chat at the very beginning. The Nightspinner is a very important piece in combination, and I say it like this: only in combination. I would never take a Nightspinner without the Yncarne anymore. At least not in this meta we are in right now. Because it allows you to shoot something, then teleport your Yncarne there, and flame, use your shooting weapon with the Yncarne itself, and then do a charge. And this is what actually, yeah, it's a bit, we can see it. Yeah, we at least see what died. So he just shot with his Nightspinners into, I think it was the D-cannon, because the D-cannon is the least, the most vulnerable thing here. Is it the D-cannon? Not sure what it was. Doesn't matter. Two Nightspinners can kill either thing. Yeah, and the efficiency is 100% the same. then his Yncarne pops up. Whoop. His Yncarne pops up and shoots or charges the other thing and kills 2 things. And by being able to he actually, oh wait, did he teleport? Oh no, he charged. And this was very important, because by that you can teleport again. That's also something, if you play this list or play any, like this Aeldari archetype, you always want to count your teleports with the Yncarne. Like now, the Yncarne teleported once in a shooting phase. It cannot teleport again in a shooting phase, but it will be able to teleport again in the charge phase, if that should be anything that happens. Probably not in your turn, at least, but it will also be able to teleport in the fight phase again, because it can only teleport once per phase. So what he did was he charged this thing, eliminated this thing, and teleported onto his position, and suddenly it was super hard for me to see him, and it was actually, I think it was impossible for me completely to see him from this angle. Like I couldn't, oh wait, maybe, yeah, I think from here I could never see him, but I could see him from the Fire Prism here. But it was quite rough, because the Wraithknight couldn't go forward and see him, and this one here, there was, you remember, I have a Fire Prism here. This, like, I can still like draw lots of line of sight down here, but I'm not sure whether I was able to draw like the complete line of sight to the one that would basically be standing here and drawing this line of sight. So it was tricky, and it was really well done by him. So in the Aeldari mirror, you actually also want to see like where your things are hiding in relation to where the Yncarne can come. So it's still, the Yncarne would still be hiding from you after it has teleported. Rough spot here, and it gets even rougher and more funnier, because my opponent does some stuff in my next turn. So what did I do? Where can we see it? Yeah, is it this one? Yeah, it's so funny. Because I told you I'm not going to complain about dice in this game, but dice happen, and we cannot do anything about it. I don't remember why, but he came out. He came out with his Wraithknight. He pushed quite aggressively. I think maybe because, yeah, it must be because I applied so much pressure with my Fire Prism being in this corner and getting this angle. So like he knows, okay, I cannot hide anymore. If he goes backwards, he's going to be shot from the other angle. If he's going staying there, he's going to get shot. And so he decides, okay, he's just going to stay. He's going to come out. In my turn now, I was hiding a small little, like this is now after his turn 2 already. In my turn 2, I was hiding a Viper here, and for a second I didn't think enough. Wait. This is his turn already. Nah, guys, he didn't come out. He didn't come out. But what he did is, what he did was he's coming out now because the important thing happened. I was shooting at him and I couldn't kill him because I came out with my Viper here in my second turn. I go into this container, which is allowed because it's just 60 millimeters, and he overwatches me with the Wraithknight. Kills it, teleports the Yncarne up here. We have a funny, like really for both of us, amusing discussion what's happening now, because I also maybe want to teleport, like who has to declare first, who can decide what happens first, and so on. And we set it on, okay, like we both just like quickly say it. I think there was in the end, like in later rounds, we had the ruling that, okay, you always, like, if you are the attacker, like the person that whose turn it is, you have to decide first if you want to bring the Yncarne, and if the other one also wants to bring the Yncarne, you can still decide what's the order, which Yncarne comes first. But yeah, he brings the Yncarne there. I bring the Yncarne after him, and I don't have to ignore cover anymore. So I'm shooting with 3 with 3 fire prisms, and I'm shooting with my Wraithknight, which at this moment was still sitting here quite comfortably. And he was actually in range of, I think, the Nightspinner, because I'm like, okay, I want to kill the Nightspinner, so I don't get like blasted like with the Yncarne combo anymore. My Wraithknight failed to kill the Nightspinner. He just did like, I don't know, almost no damage. And then I had to switch targets with my fire prisms because I was like, oh, so if I'm not killing the Nightspinner, and I might not kill the Wraithknight either, because without without the ignore cover, he has just a 5-up save with the Wraithknight. I might not even kill him. I did like already, yeah, basically one very important mistake, not placing the Viper correctly, led to me, and then some bad dice led to me, oh shit, I cannot do this move I wanted to do here, and I completely focused all my shooting on the Nightspinner, and I killed the Nightspinner, and then teleported, because that's what you always want to prepare. You want to shoot something, make sure that something dies, teleported my Yncarne there, and then shoot. I think I shot like a Farsi or something, and then charged a fire prism. Yeah, I charged the fire prism. In hindsight, I think I should have charged the Nightspinner, because if the Nightspinner is gone, he has no more indirect shooting, and killed it. So this is really important. Like, if you don't kill your target with Eldar, you don't get to kill 2 targets usually, or even 3, because you don't get to bring the Yncarne. Yeah, and then I don't really remember how it went, but then maybe I didn't have enough CP, or I couldn't hide enough because he actually went forward. Then he killed my, in his return. Oh yeah, I know what I remember. In my mind, his Wraithknight would be dead. I was sure his Wraithknight would be dead. It wasn't dead, and my Wraithknight was in no position to hide again from his Wraithknight. So he just took his Wraithknight, looked at my Wraithknight, and just killed it. You see right now, this is actually the moment where both Yncarnes then later spawn, like this is his turn, spawn on the same position where the Yncarne just appeared. I made sure that my Yncarne comes so he can still, I think he was he still holding the objective? Maybe this is something that later happens, but you also always want to use the Yncarne so you can hold objectives. That stuff that people already killed. And yeah, it was looking quite grim right now, because he has a Wraithknight. And he just killed my Wraithknight. I still have 3 fire prisms. He has 1 fire prism and 1 Nightspinner. So I'm actually up on non-Wraithknight stuff, but he's up on the Wraithknight. And let's find out together how the game ended. So so he still has the Wraithknight. Do I have the score? Oh, I don't have it. Yeah, I think I remember. I know what I end up doing is I end up, because you see here we have the moment where his Yncarne is in my base. And I had an opportunity to shoot his Yncarne before, and I did a big mistake by getting Overwatch and then giving a teleport to the Yncarne. By the way, you always want to avoid that, and with the Yncarne you can also do that. It's so crazy. You can basically Overwatch something with the Yncarne itself and then teleport. And can trick people off a lot. Yeah, I was able to not, like, also tell my opponent I'm not gonna shoot any other guns before the Yncarne is dead, and then shot everything at him, and it killed it. And so thus in turn 3 I have left my Yncarne and 1, 2, 3 fire prisms, 1 decan that actually can't shoot anything, 1 void weaver, and yeah, the fire prisms, and some small stuff running around. So it's getting quite low. I'm up on non-Wraithknight stuff. He's up on Wraithknight stuff. I think I'm pretty confident that he shoots like one Nightspinner, one Fire Prism this turn. But in my next turn, I'm actually able to kill his Wraithknights, if I remember this correctly, with my 2 remaining Fire Prisms, and I think it was also with the little nice Void Weaver. Teleport my Yncarne in, and then do basically the killing blow by doing the charge again. I think it was maybe at this unit here, I'm not clearly remember. And thus swing the turn in my favor. It's like when you get the Yncarne in, you always get, as I said, you always get a double kill. And I have -1 to wound on him, and it's really hard for him to shift him, and that's why I focus so much if I get him. Like, if you have this mirror match and you are able to kill the Yncarne, just kill him. Just try to get him. So, that's it. Our score is quite close. I am able to get more primary at the end because I was actually winning on the side of mission. As you can see here, I'm getting 5, 10, 15, 15 because we're playing Ritual where we just put on more and more markers. And doing my first 3 turns, I actually kind of focused, like I think he had some rangers here, I focused them with the D-cannon. When I teleported my Yncarne, I've killed some Shadow Spectres, I believe. Yeah, so he was running out of stuff. I had more stuff. I had my lone operative. I think here he is, quite alive and kicking, and was feeling very well here, and so got like a in addition to winning the attrition war, I was also winning the mission because I think in the end I was better prepared for the mission because I played this a few times before because it's my big belief, just after the attrition war, the most important thing in 10th edition is just the primary and knowing what the primary actually is. Okay, that's the first mirror match. And now we go to, wait, we can go here. Yeah, we go to our next one. We are playing in round 4. And we are playing, like, the list is getting more, I think the list is getting better and more similar. His list is different in a way that he has Nightspinner. I'm again on top of stuff. I should have thought of my, so I'm here. He has a Nightspinner. He brings 2 Warwalkers. He has an additional lone op. And he, instead of like guys that are good at hiding and screening, he has those guys who are quite maneuverable and good at killing stuff. I have the edge. I have more indirect shooting. I have more indirect shooting out of reserves. And I have more durable screens. Like if I'm able to see and catch the what's it called? The Warp Spiders or the Shadow Spectres, they're usually dead. About Void Weavers, I have seen Void Weavers survive a lot of stuff, and and if a Fire Prism shoots at a Void Weaver, I slow dice my saves, and if I roll a 4+ on the first one, I might just fade dice the second one, and then the Void Weaver just survived a whole Fire Prism, and they might need to shoot another Fire Prism there, and you know, these other lists I'm gonna play later, they only have 2 Fire Prisms, so there's actually a lot of tanking. Yeah, generally great list, good screening, heavy damage, might be a bit less good against GSC because, as I said in the beginning, this does nothing against GSC, except for screening. Okay, day 2. Yeah, this is also day 2. Usually day 2 is really difficult for me because I am not an early person and I tend to very often lose my game 4. Due to lack of concentration and this often also leads to lack in the time management. But I was really happy to play this game, and I felt good playing the first Aeldari mirror and winning it, and actually learning a lot from it, to be honest. Like we saw, basically right now, I could explain a lot to you guys, and for me, some of this stuff was also the first time I could really see everything coming together like this. So big advantage here for the game. And a second big advantage is I really know about the Wraithknight. In my first game, I was debating with myself whether it would be possible due into certain like Fire Prism maneuvers, or like in maybe round 2 to be able to shoot at my Wraithknight, and if I should reserve my Wraithknight. Also, I was thinking, oh, if I reserve the Wraithknight, I might be able to get some edge and shoot first, and I have more like I can come from all the different sides. Yeah, but after the first game, I was sure never put the Wraithknight into reserve if you have just a little bit a hiding place for him. If you just have one spot of hiding for him, you should never do that. My opponent basically had the same thoughts in his mind before this game. I think we both didn't know who was going to be our opponent for game 4. The placing was hidden, which I think was really good, because it's really also like keeps people, like keeps me up at night, like thinking about my next game and the next day. So this was much more comfortable for me there. But yeah, so he had to make the decision maybe a bit quicker, and he decided to put his Wraithknight in reserves. If we look here, from his side, the deployment is basically mirrored. We both, like right now, he only has one more Fire Prism chassis than I have, with the additional Nightspinner, but in other ways, it's very mirrored. Like, yeah, the avatar is in a different, the avatar of Yncarne-ed, the Yncarne is in a different spot, because I'm putting here the Wraithknight. Yeah, so but he doesn't have a Wraithknight, so that means for me suddenly I'm allowed to use obscuring in the at least first round, and in my deployment as well. Huge edge here, and we will topple this now with me going first. We roll off, I go first. I know I have a big advantage here, and I know I will pressure. I will first turn. Oh yes, oh, this was so brutal. So we can put this. Can we put these in comparison here? Yeah, I think this works. So you guys see? Yeah, you can see it here. So basically, you can see everything that died quite clearly. So this dies, and this dies, and actually one unit here died as well. So I was able to kill 4 units in my first turn, and my opponent was trying to hide. And now everything comes together, what I said in the Armylist description. It is so hard to hide, because I have the Fire Prisms, which draw length, like I threaten the movement and then drawing line of sight over the whole table from 3 different positions, even with the 20-inch move. I threaten with not giving you obscuring with the Wraithknight. And yeah, the decan's not relevant in turn 1, but yeah, and then I threaten the Yncarne, and he's also able to if I then, like with the combination of the Fire Prisms and the Wraithknight, am able to see something and kill something, then I also threaten you with the Yncarne in turn 1. And I just did that. And I think in this game, also first turn, I take my cards and I get take enemy outpost. So holding the opponent's objective marker in their deployment zone. And I was checking the board, I was measuring line of sight. I'm like, nice, I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna achieve that, because I know for very sure I'm gonna get it. Now we will zoom in a little bit more so we can see it here. I move forward. I will move. Let's put green. I move forward my Wraithknight. By the way, did I put my Wraithknight into a position where he? Yeah, this time I put the Wraithknight in a position where he's safe without Phantasm. I think I did that because I wasn't sure what he's gonna do with his Fire Prisms. Or his... Oh yeah, by the way, here I'm doing the same thing. Just want to mention that. You guys see? 55 points and 200 points. I'm not doing anything in the first turn. Perfect. Good trade. Yeah, let's measure here. So Wraithknight goes forward. Can draw line of sight on 2 things. This thing and I think actually also this thing, just here, there was a Fire Prism here. This Fire Prism goes forward. And I can barely... How was it? Ah, yeah, 2 things. Ah, amazing. It's fun, but it's also very brutal. I can see a line of sight from this little edge all the way along here. So I could see, if we go up again, maybe I should draw it in here. I will draw it in here, guys. It's much easier. I will draw it in here. I moved up the Fire Prism here, and I could draw a line of sight just in between these two up to his antenna. And I moved here forward. Let's use the right color. Move forward here. Move forward here. So, and now right now I'm seeing this Fire Prism just by like a millimeter. And we know he can just fire and fade them. So I need to establish a second target. So I'm doing that. I actually am establishing 3 targets, 2 with my Wraithknight. And I'm also putting, there was one Fire Prism just behind the Wraithknight. I'm putting it into the deployment zone, into the at the base from the rune, and I'm also getting this angle here, which is super nice because now I actually have this. This is what you want. You want double target for your Fire Prism, like they can see 2 targets from the opponent Aeldari player, and you want all your Fire Prisms to see each other. I think I was not able to see all of my with all of my Fire Prisms, but the one in the middle was able to see both. So basically, this thing would always be able to shoot something, because even if one of the targets Phantasm, I would still be able to see that. And yeah, in the end, as I already mentioned, I was able to, with shooting, I think I shot my Fire Prisms first. Yeah, I think I started with the Fire Prisms because that's the most brutal thing. It's like the Wraithknight, as we already experienced now, is really unreliable, and the Fire Prisms are kind of reliable and also like very like you know, if you do 6 damage, it's like 2 hits needed. It's not like, oh, you get 2 wounds through and then you don't kill something. So I think they killed this thing. Then the Wraithknight killed this. So this vehicle's dead. This vehicle's dead. Then the Yncarne ports here makes a. I think he first flamed his Ortag and then charged the other vehicle and killed this vehicle. So 3 vehicles down. Here in his turn has very little to do. I'm feeling great. But I'm playing against Aeldari, and it's an Aeldari mirror match, and it's cursed. So as you can see here, my Fire Prism is quite out, but I'm happy with it because I can still fire and fade it. Not fire and fade, Phantasm, and I chose to not fire and fade it. I don't remember why, but I think because I was just like, okay, my game plan is really good. I have a big advantage here. And then we look at my table, and this is actually now a flipped view. So it's quite hard for you to see, but I will explain here what he's gonna do now. He is moving his two of his what's it called? Things. Warwalkers. 2 of his Warwalkers forward. One can see my Fire Prism, barely sees it, even after the Phantasm. He goes on to shoot it, kills it with 2 shots, which is likely or not, it doesn't really matter. The important thing is that with AP4, I did still have a save. I did a mistake. I already mentioned I would do this mistake. I did take 4-up invulnerable save on this guy here first, which actually didn't matter much. So he didn't die, which was good for primary and secondary and so on. But much more importantly, this thing died. It doesn't explode. It does explode. I don't remember. It doesn't really matter if it explodes, but it's dead. So the Yncarne comes and appears and is able to make a second charge. As I said, if you kill something, the Yncarne will usually kill the second thing and kills me a Fire Prism. I was like, I killed 2 Fire Prisms and a Nightspinner and what was the other thing? Yeah, and I flamed I just flamed to death the Autark, and I was like, this is going great. I'm winning this game. And suddenly he's like, oh no, you're down 2 Fire Prisms as well. Oof, that was rough. That was rough, and that's the amount of comeback you can do with Elder. And yeah, that's the board state here. I think it's at the end of his turn 1, which is, no wait, is this? No, end of my turn 2. End of my turn 2, because I proceed. What I need to do now is I need to hide from his Wraithknight, because the worst thing that could happen, now we are basically even on the Fire Prism chassis, and he can come out with the Wraithknight and then kill my Wraithknight, because we already established that it's actually the best thing to kill a Wraithknight is a Wraithknight. So what I do is I kill all his small stuff that I can reach, but I actually don't focus on killing that much, but actually on screening. It's not visible here, but I put one. Oops, I put my Autark into this corner here. I made sure that the Yncarne teleports here after something died. I bring from reserve my D-cannon here, and now I have basically screened the board for his Wraithknight to come in. His Wraithknight can only come in basically, oh, actually less, because he has to be in 6 inches for me. His Wraithknight can basically come in here. And there he will not be able to see my Wraithknight. He is able to see this thing, but I will be able to fire and fade away. If he comes here and tries to see me, it's not going to be the Wraithknight, so it's fine. Yeah. And with that move, with screening his Wraithknight, the game's actually done. The game's done. I'm not sure if I have a photo. Yeah, I have a photo. That's what he does. He basically does a desperation move. He just brings in his Wraithknights here and shoots some small stuff. He cannot kill my Fire Prism. I still have my Wraithknight. He doesn't hide. I bring out my Wraithknight. I kill his Wraithknight. I teleport, I kill more stuff, I have the board. It's a Wraithknight, the Yncarne, and the Fire Prism, and some small stuff against 1 Fire Prism, and that's it. Yeah, by the way, I want to mention that even though I didn't have the Nightspinners, because I had the 2 D-cannons, I was very successful in clearing out his small stuff. Like, at this moment, we don't have any Warp Spiders anymore. We don't have any Shadow Specters, the stuff that other Aeldari player apparently really like, and I mean, they're great units for screening and skirmishing and getting into places. I was able to kill all of them with the cannons, and that really helped me, like, at this moment, have like a really good board stage where he cannot hide from me and do, like, maybe win with mission play or something. So yeah, that's the second second mirror match, because I went first, I killed him quickly. It's really one-sided. It's a 20-0. He doesn't do any primary. I do all the primary. I actually also do all the secondary. Oh, I think my story was wrong. But at one game I did Storm, like the take away the home objective. Not in this mission. Not in this game, but we can't forget about this. Still happens. It still happened in a tournament game for me, where I took a capture enemy outpost in the first turn with the Yncarne. So that's game 3. So yeah, game 4. Then I'm lost only 3 points in one of the Aeldari mirrors, and now I am on the top table. I think now I'm on table 1. Before that I was on table 2, and I'm playing my next Aeldari mirror because the Aeldaris are also smashing it. Let's see and look at this list. Ooh. This is the list which was actually quite hyped by some of the teams, and I think it's a great teams list in a way, and I feel it's not that great of a singles list. Why is this the case? This list basically says, I am going to have board presence, and I'm going to abuse the durability and movability from Wraithguard. He has just like me. He has one Wraithguard, he has some lone ops, he has some characters for buffing. Like the other armies, he has certain screening units. Like he shows to have actually quite a bunch of them. He's not choosing to take the cheap ones. He actually wants to do something with them. He wants to kill people. He wants to be moving around a lot. He has one Nightspinner, which I totally don't get. If you know, please put it in the comment, because the Nightspinner without the Yncarne, I feel like it's a bit of a waste, because the efficiency is not so high. Of course, it helps of killing things in an Aeldari mirror, and also helps of slowing things. Maybe it's in a Custodes match very helpful, but I feel like you can just kill the Custodes quite successfully. But yeah, I guess it is helpful in the Custodes matchup. In the Aeldari matchup, I feel it's not that helpful, because you don't have the combo using the Nightspinner and then bringing in the Yncarne. But this is all just supporting stuff in a way. The whole meat, the beef, the thing that does most of the work for this army usually are the 2 units of Wraithguard. Very important with the Wraithguard, they have now toughness 7 and a 2-up save. They don't have the -1 damage anymore like they had in the 9th edition, but with toughness 7 and -1 to wound from the Farseers, they are incredibly durable. The spirits here make them a bit more, they make them do more damage, which is fine, but also they can resurrect 1 model each of their own command phases. It used to be that you can do it in every command phase. Just actually 2 days before the Armylist submission, there was like this FAQ from like the shadow nerf from GW, which was an errata, and they said, oh, we didn't mean it to be like this, but it's actually like a really clear direct nerf. Nerfing this unit before that would be actually much stronger. Now you can only get 1 unit back, 1 model back, but still it's very doable. If you don't kill it outright, it's gonna regenerate, and it's actually gonna shoot you back, and that's very, very important here. And it's makes it very hard to handle for many armies, because if you get in range to them, and you don't kill them, and usually you never have an activation that kills the whole unit, you can shoot at any target in 18 inches. And their shooting is pretty bad with strength 10, or I think strength 10 -4 d6 damage, devastating wounds, and you can of course flip a dice into a 6, and one of the Night Spirits here also has the enhancement, so you can flip an additional 6 wound roll into a 6. So basically every time you shoot this thing and you have anything in 18 inches, you're gonna get 2d6 more to wound it. It's gonna hurt. And of course, it is usually quite like just from the base of its data sheet. It's just 6-inch move, so it's quite slow. But we can always use a fate dice for advancing, so it actually moves advances 12 inches. It can use Phantasm forward or backwards, whatever is best in the situation, and can also fire and fade. So this unit can actually, in the duration of 2 player turns, basically my movement, like include my movement until the end of my opponent's movement turn, move 24 inches. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot for a small like heavy anti-tank infantry model. Like, yeah. So that's great. That's amazing, and this is amazing in a GC matchup. And there were quite a few teams that didn't know that. They didn't know that this combination, all these 3 units together, the buffed double Wraithguard, is actually really hard to kill for the GC, and does enough damage so it can. It's kind of like walking through the army, I think. Yeah, and GC was, at least at the last biggest tournament we had in Central Europe, GC was just brutally beating Eldar left and right. And you know, from my army list, I also thought about that, and I wanted to have weapon profiles that are versatile enough that I can also do damage against Horde. So I think this is a great choice against GC, but I don't think it's a great choice in the singles to bring, because you're going to run into the mirror, and we're going to see that right now. So game round 5. My opponent was, of course, also undefeated until that point, and he was also on the top of the placings, so we were playing on table 1. This is our deployment. We are playing Hammer and Anvil, which is, I think, a little bit beneficial for me because it's easier for me to hide from his Wraithknight, because this is only long range shooting, and in my opinion, this already changes the matchup immediately. He has one thing that shoots further than 18 inches, taking the Nightspinner out of the equation. But he doesn't have the Nightspinner-Yncarne combination, so it's actually only the Nightspinner, so I don't care that much. And I shoot with my pretty much whole army further than 18 inches. So I think he was used to bullying the opponent in the primary game and being confident in his damage input of his double Wraithguard. My deployment was as such. I had more drops than my opponent, so I could wait and see. Oops, this is too big. Could completely wait and see. Wait and see how he deployed, and then deploy currently. Malte in the chat asks, what's the measuring tool in the bottom? Yeah, this is the best measuring tool in the whole world. It was designed by my club here, my local club here in Berlin, HD+. Two people who do lots of things with 3D modeling and printing, and also like using, I don't know, some factory machines to do this stuff. It's amazing. It's 6 inches, and you can use the magnets, so it becomes actually up till 10 inches. And of course, there's 2 inches here, 3 inches here, and this one is also a ½ inch. It's amazing. I loved it. I got lots of compliment at the tournament. And at the final table, after the game, someone stole it from me. I'm so furious. If any one of you hears about it, where it is, anyone sees it, it's mine. Please give it back to me. And we have, like, this is just a prototype. We haven't, like, this is not, it's not, you cannot buy it. It's not factory produced or anything. So I will need to do another one. Yeah. But yeah, as you can see here, I think this should be 10 inches. This is the 10-inch move where I can go forward, and I told my opponent I can go until here. I assume someone stole it to me. I don't know for sure, but I looked everywhere. The judges looked everywhere. I asked my opponent. The streaming team looked everywhere, and no one could find it. So, and I checked all my boxes like 10 times. So I don't know where it is. Not assuming the worst in the people, just that's the conclusion we have to come to. Yes, so this matchup, sorry, I got distracted. This matchup is, I think it's favored towards the Aeldari player who chose to go go the damage route and not the input route, and choose to go for the long range shooting and not for the short range shooting. Malte, no problem. You can ask more questions. I'm happy if people ask more questions, so I get more, like, a bit more confirmation from the chat. This is actually resonating with you guys, what I'm talking here. I know I said it's like a lecture here, but I really like it more to be a seminar. Like, people asking questions. Yes. So you guys, actually, if I just give you the army list and the deployment for my opponent, should already be able to do the deployment by yourself. Hide your army. Use obscuring as much as possible. Use true line of sight block as much as possible against Wraithknights. And for example, I'm doing that here. We measured this Wraithknight can go here, and then his line of sight will be restricted to exactly this angle, and thus not be able to see the Wraithknight. I think it's even a bit further, like exactly, like just really, it's just barely out. And I talk with my opponent, and I just put it on the edge, because when we talk about it, the edge is enough. It's just barely not visible. So me and my opponent knows it's not visible, and so it will not be shot in turn 1. Yes, no discussion afterwards, and that's good. Yeah, I checked out this. Then I obviously also checked out this line of sight here. I checked this range, and this range actually goes only here. So I can put lots of stuff in the open, because my opponent has only one thing that shoots, and that shoots only 36 inches. And last but not least, I checked when my Wraithknight does Phantasm, it can go basically 7 inches all the way back here. So it moves, it's also behind this angle here. And this allows me to do a thread with my Wraithknight, like apply pressure and get to angles, not from the hiding position, but from the like pre-hiding position. That's why this beautiful measuring tool is already laying there, telling my opponent where I will be able to be and what angles I will be able to draw. This thing didn't come into play because my opponent went first. Let's see what happened if he went first. This is by the way, this is from the other angle. So, and here down here you see the his other big unit hidden, and also you can see his lone operative, just like in the very first game, sitting here in the open, outside of my range of shooting him, even if I go forward with my Night Fire Prism, because we talked about it. Okay, turn 1. This is so brutal. Okay, this turn 1 is not very, this photo is not very useful, but we will just check what happens in his turn. His turn, he goes forward and he kind of hides like a little bit like this. Both these things, the containers and the ruin, are blocking kind of some line of sight, so it's a bit hard for me to really see him. I would be able to see him if I put my Fire Prism on here, draw a thin line here, but with Phantasm, and that makes this unit really good. He would be able to move another 6 inches. Very important, it's 6 inches, not 7, because it says up to 7, and the movement characteristic of this unit is only 6. He would be able to move away and completely clear this, and I would have no way of interacting with this unit. And I think this is how you can often also tackle and catch shooting armies off guard. Okay, very important. And what do we do with things we cannot interact? We make sure that they cannot interact with us in the next turn, or at least not with things that are relevant for our game plan or for damage race, because we remember we want to win the damage race. We go to the other side, and actually I cannot show you much on the other side because it's all dead, and this, I think it was quite devastating for my opponent, because he really thought, I mean, or maybe he didn't do the calculation, or he didn't know, he didn't experience yet, but he basically got, I mean, Arne said it in the last game, and we will see it, hear it in the next game. Arne said, my army is designed to get the maximum damage on the maximum amount of places on the board, and I just did that. So he runs forward. I will just use the deployment photo here. He runs forward and basically spreads out a little bit with his Wraithguard, and I think it would not be possible to really hide them at all here, like hide the whole army. Maybe if you have a high advance for, this guy can also still hide here, and this actually would have been a play, but he doesn't do it. What he does is he pushes this unit forward. He also pushes his Wraithknight forward. And I think he did get an angle onto the Rangers, but I could move them out a little bit. As we remember, he doesn't get any angles on these things, because they, as we already saw from the previous games, they can easily hide here behind. This is still hiding because it's small enough, and I can chuck all the stuff in there. So he's out in the open. It's basically game 1. Hi Frank, thank you very much for your congrats. I'm in game 5 actually. I have already played 3 mirror matches, and this is the most asymmetrical mirror match, because my opponent has run Wraithknight, and otherwise he has only short range guns, and I have all my long range shooting. So he shoots. He comes forward. This is where he stands, and I now do all the stuff that I do with Aeldari all the time with the list. So wait, I need a different color. So he goes forward here and forward here. I put this Fire Prisms in the open, and I make sure that I have good angles onto these things. I have angles on the Wraithknight, I have angles onto the Wraithguard, because I don't know how my dice will be. even though I have lots of rewards, I don't know how the dice will be. To make sure, even if my dice go bad, I'm not dead. I go out of, I think it was 24 inches of the Wraithguard. So they will not be able to shoot me next turn, except for when they Phantasm forward. And even then I could still Phantasm backwards again, and then I would still be out of range, yes. Of course, I also make sure that this Fire Prism is seen. Like this Fire Prism sees itself and is seen by here. And I think maybe I moved here and saw it here. Something like this. I don't really clearly remember, but usually with 14 inches and here the antenna and the long barrel with the crystal, it all comes in handy very much. And I really advise you to really use it all to get all the angles. My Wraithguard moves also back because I want to be safe. Because I don't want my first mirror to happen again where I couldn't kill a single thing with my shooting. I don't want that to happen. So I move him back and I have both angles here. Very important here, as I said before, I move my small, what's it called? Viper to see the big Wraithknight, so I can ignore his cover. Lines of sight, boop. Yeah. The Void Weaver also go there and can see stuff, and I basically have three Void Weavers. 2 Void Weavers, they can all shoot the big guy. And then I take away the cover from the Wraithknight. I shoot 2 Void Weavers into the Wraithknight, and I think I shoot 2 Fire Prisms into the Wraithknight, and last but not least, one D cannon that was hiding in here in the corner. I also shoot it in it, and then it's dead. I think that's the expected thing we want. I'm not sure. Did I shoot with the Wave Cannon? I don't remember. I'm not sure if I shot with the Wave Cannon, but that's good. The Wave Cannon's good in any target of them. I shoot a death and I teleport the Yncarne in there. Because now I know, oh, I still have my Wraithknight left, and I still have either one cannon or 1 Fire Prism left, and I still have the shooting from the Yncarne. And then also again, first game knowledge applied here. Like the game from the first round, we apply our knowledge. If we have a big target with many models, we want to abuse the blast rule from our Wraithknight as much as possible. It's 10 guys, actually it's 11 guys, so we shoot our both big Wraithknight guns. They get 2 extra shots each, so we have 4 shots plus 2d6 is an average of 8. I don't know what I rolled, I don't know what I did, but I killed a lot of models. I think I killed half of the squad. Because I can tell you so I have like average 8 shots, 1 reroll is average 9 shots, so I have average 6 hits. I can reroll one of that, so it's also, we can calculate this at average if we don't hit every one of them. You can just do that. Just always, if you have one reroll, you can just add 1 extra shot. Except for the ones where you have just 2 shots, then the the stochastic didn't work. But in this case it works. So we have 9 shots, 6 hits, 7 base counts as 7 hits. We put 1 away because we want to put that into a fate dice. So we on average have 1 6. So we have an average 2d6 mortal wounds, where we would always also use the CP and slow dice this in case we roll like a small roll for the 2d6 damage. And then we also additionally have, what's the average? On average, yeah, 5 more wounds, where he has 5-up save against. So yeah, this squad took so much damage. I don't know, I don't remember how many died, but a lot. I shoot the D cannon, I think, next, and then I shoot the flamer from the Yncarne, then I charge the unit, and then the unit's just dead. And then we have the situation where we had here. Yeah, so I'm taking a photo, and the only thing that's interesting is at the bottom, because the top is just dead. My Yncarne is standing on the objective. Yeah, and that's actually game. We don't need to play that much from now on. I know, we both know that for me it's now just a matter of pushing to this objective, getting this objective, fighting over this objective, and him probably having this objective, but I don't care because he cannot take away any other objectives from me. We have a lot of skirmishes because we are both still playing Aeldari. He uses his Wraithknights quite intelligently, going forward with them, Phantasm backwards, using his Nightspinner good, and so on. So we actually fight quite a long time over the third objective in the middle. I think that's the situation where I get the Yncarne in, and then I cannot get away with Phantasm, and then he goes and just kills it with some good shooting there. And actually, because he already did some damage in the turn where he teleported next to the other unit, so he was already hurt, like on, I don't know, 6 wounds or something. So I managed to kill the Yncarne, which actually you don't want to happen, because the Yncarne really helps you push the opponent in later turns when you're winning the attrition war. So I really advise you, yes, if you can get the killing blow with the Yncarne, do it. But if you don't need it, don't do it. Because it's going to help you so much more later. Because if the resources are low for the opponent, you will be able to, he will not be able to handle the Yncarne anymore. Yes, so that's about turn 2 or 3. I don't really remember. And he just have the corner, and we just leave him to this corner. It's a slow corner. This could be like a Terminator squad as well. We're just going to leave the Terminator squad there, and we're just going to ignore it and kill the other stuff. And it's just a matter of playing secondaries now, and the amount of time it takes me to get to these objectives and to his objective in the end of the game. Excuse me. Yeah, that's that. Yeah, at the end of the game, I told you that in the first turn I was going backwards. I was going backwards with my Wraithknights because I wasn't sure how much damage I'm going to do. And from then on, I was just pushing forward. I was just going boop, boop, boop. And I think I actually double moved here. So I think in turn 4, I get onto his objective and deny him primary. So he doesn't get a 10, but only a 5. And at this point, it also doesn't matter whether he's going to kill the Wraithknight, the Yncarne, and everything. Nothing matters if it dies. It's just like, when you have this much board presence, you can just throw your stuff at them, because you already the killing has already been done. Oh, I don't have the score sheet. No, sorry guys, I don't have a photo of that. Yeah, all we know is that the Aeldari, my Aeldari list, does a lot of damage, and even the infamous double Wraithguard can stand it against the shooting damage. What about this army? My very good colleague and friend Arne, which you hopefully have seen on any of the international live streams from Wargames Live already, or maybe the ones from us, from the Alpine GT, who usually plays shooty armies. He now played big stompy robots, and he was crushing people left and right. Oh, you are a national player running the national GC list or something? Yeah, take 14 War Dogs and not be able to kill them, and also die and don't make primary. That was his doing until then. And I was super happy because I was running a Chaos Knight on the last big German tournament of last edition, and had my biggest success, yes, with Chaos Knight, and he just picked this army, and he was just like running it so smoothly and stomping people, while he was actually only there to have fun, because this wasn't even his team list. His team list was Thousand Suns and like completely different. But yeah, that's how it happened. And then we met at the final table of the final round from the regular rounds before the top card at table 1 with the both of the highest score. And I wish that the tournament would have just ended there and we both like first and second place. But no, we had to play another round. I had to play even more rounds after this, or the winner of this game. But as you probably already know, I won this game. And this is a lot of stuff. This is 14 times 12, which I don't know what this comes to. You can calculate this for yourself. This is 120. 12 times 4 is like 168 wounds with T10, 5 up invulnerable save, and often a 2 up cover save, because cover you get all the time in 10th edition. It's really hard to kill. It is. And it actually shoots a lot and has 28 melter shots with strength 12. It's also quite shooty, and it's also good in close combat, and it's also has objective secured, basically, again, because it has on each of these models OC8. It's a great list. It's I haven't said this yet. It's 6 brigands. Brigand, basically the best data sheet in the index. 4 stalkers, here not displayed with the right weapon. You should always run them with the melter guns, and then 4 huntsmen with also melter guns. And all the top weapons were havoc launchers. If you want to play a really nice list for just going to a tournament and you're not into 10th edition yet that much, I really advise you play this list and just bring it. It's so much fun. Yeah, so Chaos Knight around 6. As I said, he was 5-0 at this point. Here he is, and I mean, we are having fun because we both know what's going to happen. The following thing is going to happen. He deploys everything on the line as forward as possible and wants to go first and hopes that maybe he can overwhelm me. Maybe I do mistakes with my target priority and get too close, and maybe he can connect some of his shooting. I deploy, as we have talked about so many times now. You can hide everything. You hide your army behind obscuring. You basically think about the Wraithknight. I was thinking about the Wraithknight okay, I'm going to put him in the open, but out of basically his movement plus 24, and then he cannot hurt him at all. And I'm also going to put him so that, quite importantly, he will be able to move forward and get the angles that I don't get with the direct shooting. Like I was getting him here. So even if maybe he plays some sneaky game where he wants to just put one war dog onto this objective and I cannot get to him, the Wraithknight's going to see it. Same thing probably here. And actually also behind this ruin, there's also some stuff hiding, and I can see the front ones, but not the ones in the back. Yeah, that's that until then. There was the deployment. Yeah, there's another shot from top. We can see that. And oh, okay, we have only turn 3. He went first. No, wait. Did he go first? Wait, I need to confirm that. I need to confirm that he went first. Otherwise, I'm gonna get shouted at. WARMASTERS. By the way, guys, I'm gonna take a break after this. After this round, before we go to the top cut. There we have it. Who went first? Oh, I went first. Ooh, that's even more brutal. Yeah, so I have aligned all the lines of sight, and with Aeldari, because we have Fire and Fate and we have Phantasm, we can basically move 2 units before your opponent is allowed to shoot. So what we can do is we go forward. Fire Prism goes forward here into the corner, goes with the whole base onto the objective, draws line of sight through this corridor and sees 3 knights. Void Weaver goes forward, draws a very thin line. It's very important. Thin lines are the good lines. Around here to see one. The other Fire Prism just move a little bit back so they can see him. The Void Weaver here goes forward, so I get a line of sight onto this thing that's gonna want to move closely to me. And the Wraithknight just goes forward, I think, a little bit. I think the Wraithknight went forward a little bit, so he has all the targets, but still can fire Phantasm everywhere. So what I did was basically sacrifice, like let him shoot my one Void Weaver. It was not necessary, to be honest. I could have also moved my Wraithknight a bit more cautious and then Phantasm him again, but I basically give him one target. It is possible on this terrain to have him target 0 models in my next turn, and I'm shooting with three Fire Prism, the Wraithknight, 1 Void Weaver, and the D-Cannon, which is actually in a sneaking way hiding down here. Okay, and what happens is I kill 1, 2, 3. I think I kill 3.5 knights, which is good, but not the greatest. But is, and if we keep on doing this, if the game would go on like this, he would still have knights at the end of games, turn 3 or 4, which obviously would be too much. If he trades with me and if he would get to me, that would not work. Like there's another list that I've seen which has lots of anti-tank shooting, but doesn't uses the rule from the Fire Prisms at all. And there you would be trading. There, most of the time, the opponent will be shooting at you, especially because the terrain is quite dense and you need to get closer to draw a line of sight. But because I can always make my opponent not shoot me, I will always win the attrition war. And like, if I kill 3 per turn, I know also, like, just by math, I will be able to kill 15 at the end of turn 5. Might not be enough, but I mean, I haven't shot with everything yet. I have still 1 D-Cannon that didn't shoot. He still had cover because I didn't shoot my Viper and I didn't use my Yncarne. So first turn is just this, and his first turn is very simple. He just runs forward. He just runs forward with everything he got. Uses the move through wall as efficiently as possible, and he just kills one thing. He just kills this thing here, the Void Weaver, which I sacrificed a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, there should be. See, there's like even 2 more moving. He has still 11 left. But in my next shooting phase, I go in. I put -1 to wound onto the Yncarne and also make sure that I have 2 twice with the double fast here for the -1 to wound. I get it. And then I shoot with my whole army. I still go through the rhythm of drawing thin lines, shooting over Fire Prism to another Fire Prism into the targets, and using Phantasm to my Fire Prisms are not getting short, and also still like using line of sight ranges to stay out of range with my Wraithknight. But basically in this turn, I think I kill 4 or 5. And I think I kill 4 in my turn, and then I kill the 5th one in Overwatch with a Wraithknight, or with a D-Cannon, I don't remember exactly. And then the 6th turn, third turn, the game looks like this. So everything's dead. Everything's off the field. I started, so actually at the end of my turn, he still had 2 knights left. So now we know, like, my shooting still like only kills 12 knights in 3 turns. But I just overwatched another knight that was wounded, and he charged something, and I think heroically intervened, or I think because he knew I could heroically intervene with the CP, he just charged the Yncarne anyways. He doesn't do enough damage, and the Yncarne kills him. So at the end of this turn, like the army that always has been running over people for 5 turns in a row, these are my losses. So 6 Rangers and one what's it called? 1 Farseer and a Void Weaver. This was the Void Weaver from turn 1. And yeah, he had lost all of his knights over the turn of 3 turns. Yeah. So here we are. This is basically the normal rounds. I was super happy at this moment. First, because I had a fun game against my friend again, but also I managed to get 6-0, and I actually was the only one 6-0. This was quite impressive because they had a draw range. There were a bunch of draws just around the field. Usually, I think I wouldn't be the only one without the draw range, and I think the draw range has nothing, doesn't belong in singles. But yeah, I was also able to beat 3 Aeldari and really learn a lot from these matches. So this was a great day 1 and day 2, and I felt super happy about this. And I even, sorry, I have to show this quite proudly. Like, got this thing of best in bracket for being 6-0. It's nice to have this like immortalized. And yeah, then we had a top card, and it was cool because yes, people had draws, but as I said, like the draws are basically fake. They're not real draws. They're draw range draws. So we needed to play on, and we played on a semifinal and a semi-final. And I didn't need to play the top card, and I can show you actually who was in the top card right here. So in the top cut, we had can you see this here? Yeah. We had 7 people who made, not basically made the top card, but we had 7 people who were, by their definition, undefeated, because we had people who had draws, actually multiple draws as well, and yeah, and they took the even number of all the people that they needed to play with, and they actually took as many people as possible, which I didn't find very good, because I think if you make a top cut, you should always only take the least amount of people necessary to make a good top cut. But anyways, because I was the only one with 6-0, I didn't need to play the top cut, because they had 7 players who would be qualified for the top cut. Luckily, I didn't need to play, so only the other players played, and there were 3 Aeeldaris. Actually 2 Aeeldaris, sorry, 2 Aeeldaris. And 1 Chaos Spaceman, 1 Dark Angel, 1 Thousand Sun, and 1 Custodes. The Custodes, interestingly, drawing before in the fifth round against one of the Aeldari player, which is quite a nice feat. And yeah, sadly, all the non-Aeldari lost. The only one remaining in the top card was then Alex Sacco, very good. Chaos Spaceman player playing from France, playing for Belgium. And yeah, this would be the top card, and I was looking forward to play more Aeldari Mirrors in the next day. Yep, and we will talk about how these 2 games went, because I still have 2 more games left from the semi-final and from the final. And after 2 Armylist, in 5 minutes, there will be a 5-minute break here. I need to drink some water and get some refreshment, and then we will talk about that in detail. And maybe there's going to come an advertisement now. I don't really know how this works, but maybe it works. guys, welcome back. I have some more water, but I feel like this is not enough for today, as I am getting tired and I want to give the top card a bit of a better representation. There's two things about it. On one way, the Chaos Basement list is very interesting, and Alex has played it to great success up until then. Like, remember, he went had only one draw, like with the draw range, and even won the top card, won the shadow round. We have the tool here, and he also performed super good in the team tournament for Belgium. So it would take some time to really dig into this list because it's quite different. And I want to give it the time for that. And on the second note, I think the finals, I didn't take any photos because it was streamed, but I've realized that the stream photos, it's quite difficult for me because I usually do been quite a bit. It's difficult to document in this way. So I want to dedicate another stream to the semifinal and the final. We'll probably do it next week at some point, maybe in the middle of the week, because there's actually more stuff coming up for us. I will see. I find one. So this will be part one of how I almost became the WARMASTER, and there will be part two next week, where I'll be discussing my semifinal game against Chaos Space Marines, which are super deadly and have to be very careful with. And then the game where, I can spoil that now, which came down to the second, to the point, and was super close. And I think Joe really summarized it really nicely. It was like the worst game at the beginning because of how the Elder interaction works if both players are super precise and careful, and then it became the best one until when it started to get going. Because this list, it has a big advantage towards me because it has the Nightspinner with the Yncarne, and I don't have the Nightspinner with the Yncarne, I only have the Yncarne. And also it has quite a few tools. It's like really nice. It has you can see that, you could see that in the stream, and I don't have the material. I feel like we don't see this in the material yet. I would need to rewatch the whole stream again to get it. See all these nice interactions and how Warp Spires interact with lone operatives, how his lone operative were played, and where he maybe also failed with them a little bit, or what gave me the edge, how I was able to catch his lone operative on the other way, and where actually my advantage was, because I had a severe disadvantage. I was basically playing without Farseers the whole game, but I was also able to push, and I was just about to, in my last turn, basically end my game, kill his Wraithknight, kill his Phantasm, stand on his home objective. But the way there, we will develop and experience together next week. I think probably Wednesday. Let me double check. What's a good date? Oh, Wednesday. If I reschedule something, it will be Wednesday. If I don't, then it might be Tuesday or Thursday. I will let you guys know. Please, if you haven't, like this video. I saw a lot of likes there, but we can have more. Subscribe. Please subscribe to the channel. There's English content. There's actually more English content coming out next week as well. I recorded already with Arne, the top performing Thousand Suns player in the singles tournament. I told you he was not playing when my disconnect happened, because I just had a disconnect. I'm not sure if you caught everything. What I said was that for today, this will be the first part. I will go into details for the semi and the final game later next week. It's probably going to be someday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. You will know this on this channel. Please subscribe to get a notification.